Yes. So we get a lot of the dogs that have been kicked out of the other daycares and boarding because of
Ah,
their behavior issues.
yeah.
So everybody assumed, like the local doggy daycares and boarding businesses must assume that we're just full of absolute neurotic dogs. But um, we're full of almost every day. The only days that we're not full are on the weekends, and that's okay. We all need a break.
Yes.
And but it's great because the way that we are set up and structured really helps those dogs that we're being let down by a standard daycare facility.
Hi, I'm April Hampton, and I designed my home based dog sitting and daycare business so that I earn well over 6 figures in sales annually while working less than 30 hours a week, giving me the freedom I desired and fulfilling my purpose while doing what I love. And this is the first home based dog sitting business podcast that shows you how to think, act, and be the top dog CEO from the inside out while applying fundamental principles of the universe to proven business strategies, processes, dog management, and marketing techniques so that you actually create a business that supports your ideal lifestyle. A dog business you love because it is emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially sustainable. This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast.
Welcome back to the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Today I have another wonderful guest, Nyssa Gatcombe, who is a canine anxiety specialist. And I think if you do dog boarding and daycare in your home or as a dog walker, you're dealing with lots of dogs and you know the ailments you may come across, whether it be emotional or physical. If you have dogs that are anxious in your pack, how much it affects everybody. So, any tips that we can give you is what we are here to do. And today, Nyssa is going to give you a bunch. So, stay tuned. Hi, Nyssa. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. How are you today?
Of course, I'm all right. How about you?
Good, good. First, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into it.
Sure. So I own a business called Magic of Paws, and it's a pretty much full service pet care business in Southern Maine. We do boarding, daycare, dog training, dog walking, house sitting, you name it, we do it at this point. And our primary focus is on anxious rescue dogs. That is the majority of our clientele. So everything we do has been designed to help these anxious dogs make their way in the world. And by default, it helps all the other dogs too, because when you adjust your focus towards the dogs that are struggling the most, you can't help but help the dogs that are pretty well adjusted too. So
Yeah, very good. How long have you been doing this for? That's a large array of services that you offer. So,
yeah, so I
started
started
there.
Yeah, so I started Magic of Paws back in 2017, and
Okay.
we started just as in-home services. And then I found this property that I'm on now in late 2019 that has a boarding facility purpose built on it, and got all excited, put in my offer. It was accepted in February of 2020, and then we all know what happened the next month. So
No.
we didn't end up closing until late October of 2020 because the banks were all busy with everything else that was going on in the world. So we started. I got the keys on October 30th, and for the first like 3 or 4 months, our busiest day was Tuesdays with three dogs for daycare. And I was absolutely terrified that I had just dropped so much money,
No kidding.
something that was not going to work. But luckily, the first school vacation after, like in the spring, we bounced right back. So,
Oh,
and
thank God.
I've been too busy ever since.
That seems to be the rigmarole, or like the regular loop that everybody gets stuck in, right? Like
Yeah,
either your feast or your famine, it seems like.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's a hard balance to find. I think that's one of the biggest challenges to find in this business is that balance between the
Yeah,
two. Yeah, for
for
sure.
sure. And every time I feel like I've got it figured out, I've got plenty of staff and everything going on. Like I get like a solid 3 months of everything being awesome and totally chill, and then something happens and all over again. I feel like the universe is just trying to teach me so many lessons, and I'm
Right,
really tired of learning them.
right. You're like, can I have more than a 3-month break, please?
Right?
Like
Like I'd
1 year?
love maybe 2 quarters of just peace and quiet. But no,
Yeah,
I still wouldn't change it for anything. So,
yeah. So what is the meat of your business now? Is it boarding, daycare, in-home pet? What is it?
so it's mostly daycare.
Mostly
Um,
daycare. Okay.
Mostly daycare. I mean, we have a fair amount of boarders and all of that, but um, it's mostly daycare. I do a lot of the in-home services, so my training has kind of fallen by the wayside for a bit, though it's picking back up, which is lovely. That's all I had today were training sessions, and it was great.
Okay, so you really love doing that part, huh?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
How
it's
and when you first started in when you bought the home, you first started with daycare, or were you said you were already doing in-home pet setting before you even bought it, right?
yeah. I'd already been doing in-home pet sitting and dog training
Oh,
prior to.
okay.
Yep.
I see. Okay, very good. So that's great because you're able to bring those skills to your boarding and daycare as well, which I think becomes even more important in some respects because you're dealing with multiple dogs together versus in a
Exactly.
single home. Yeah, with one single family of pets or one pet, right? So I bet that's where did that side blow up once word got out that you really helped, or do you take a lot of anxious dogs in on your daycare and boarding? Has that seemed to find you because that's your specialty?
Yes. So we get a lot of the dogs that have been kicked out of the other daycares and boarding because of
Ah,
their behavior issues.
yeah,
So everybody assumed, like the local doggy daycares and boarding businesses must assume that we're just full of absolute neurotic dogs. But um, we're full of almost every day. The only days that we're not full are on the weekends, and that's okay. We all need a break.
yes,
And but it's great because the way that we are set up and structured really helps those dogs that we're being let down by a standard daycare facility without, necessarily the high price that's associated with like the more boutique stuff that you specialize in. The in-home boarding services can get quite expensive, whereas we have the benefit of volume because we have a purpose-built
yeah.
facility. So we can have 20 to 30 dogs without any issue.
Oh,
Whereas I can't think of a single home boarder who can fit 20 to 30
oh
dogs
my,
in their home.
right. I
So
could. I wouldn't like it.
no, no, I don't think your neighbors would like it either.
My neighbors wouldn't like it, and it would be total chaos. And I might have the Hamilton County auditor or whatever, whoever comes out and says, no, no, no. That would be a problem. So, wow. Okay. So then when you have 20, 30 dogs there for daycare, do they all come out and play together or do you rotate them? How does that work for you?
So we rotate them. We keep our play groups really, really small.
Oh,
The largest play group we ever run is 10 dogs.
oh, good.
So
Okay.
we do that to keep the stimulation level down for those anxious dogs. It also allows the dogs to get a little bit more one-on-one attention with the people running the play groups.
Sure.
And it keeps them from getting overtired because they go out, they play for 20, 30 minutes, then they go back in their room and decompress, settle in, take a quick nap for another 15, 20 minutes, and then they go back out again.
Yeah.
So they're not as overtired. They're getting that chance to rebound in
Yeah.
between the play sessions. And then everybody takes a nap time in the middle of the day where they all get their stuffed Kongs or their puzzle toys and all of that to just kind of help them calm back down again before another bout of fun in the afternoon. And we've just found that it works really well for keeping dogs from getting that like tired, cranky toddler that I see a lot in daycares that don't take those breaks.
Yeah.
So the more sensitive dogs that come through aren't getting bombarded by stimuli all day. So they're able to recover a lot faster than they would in a different situation.
Wonderful. That's pretty much exactly how we do it here. I have usually 8 to 10 on daycare days. I only have 3 daycare days a week, but those daycare days, that's the same thing. It's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes out, play, individual, whether it's inside or outside because of the weather, and then it's downtime. And usually that's the time for me to go and, do some cleaning or right? Sweet,
Yep.
that's a never-ending job, right? Is the cleaning.
Constant.
So, okay, very good. That helps give me a better picture of, what you're dealing with on a daily basis. Now, I think you'd mentioned something about when it comes to anxious dogs and boarding them, some people, they just might turn those dogs away. But what's the benefit of not turning those dogs away? How has it helped you?
It's helped me as a practitioner of canine body language.
Mm,
Anxious dogs tend to exaggerate their body language a lot more than dogs that aren't anxious. So
mm,
it allows us to kind of learn and see what stresses the dogs out a lot easier, and it makes it a lot easier to understand when even a dog that doesn't have anxiety is starting to get stressed out, which happens all the time, especially if they're boarding for longer periods of time. We can pick up on those stress signals earlier because we're so used to seeing the stress signals of anxious dogs day in and day out, that when a dog who isn't normally stressed out starts to show just the slightest hint of discomfort, we can jump right on it and help them out and help them to rebound faster and get through it. It's made both myself and my staff a lot better at handling dogs than any of us
wow.
were to begin with.
Wow, what a beautiful gift that you have seen, you've seen that, you've noticed that, you've become aware of that. I would honestly say I've experienced the same thing here, but I never thought about that. I never thought about how that has helped me taking in, because I specialize in social anxiety dogs, you
Yep.
know, same thing almost, right? Anxiety, period. And so, that's true. They have certainly taught me a lot more signals that I was unaware of before. So, what would you say are some of the top signals that you see? And especially some of those earlier ones that you were talking about that you didn't used to see until you've done this enough times to be aware.
Yeah, the biggest one for me was lip licking. That
Ah,
it's so subtle, and most people, unless you're looking for it, it's really easy to miss. But when a dog gets super stressed out, they start to, one of the first signs that they do is that they'll lick their lips repeatedly.
okay.
Um, but it's a very small, quick movement, and it's really easy to mistake it as, oh, they're just, licking crumbs of food or the treat off of their face or that sort of thing. So
Right.
being able to notice when it makes sense and when it doesn't can
Yeah.
help us catch that anxiety and stress a lot faster. So
Wow. So it's not like a prolonged session of lip smacking or
no,
licking.
it's just super quick. It's just out of context. So
Ah,
it's not after they've drunken water and not after they've had a treat. It's just, they're hanging out in the play group with their friends, and, they notice that they just lick their lips super quick and they go about their life. And it's a way for them to self-soothe. So it's a way to kind of notice that, like, oh, they're starting to think that there's something wrong. Like they might not have even noticed it in general. It's just kind of like, when you're stressed out, you tend to like shake it off, or, some people will yawn. Dogs do the same thing too. This is just one of their ways that their body starts to indicate to them that, hey, you need to take a break.
yeah.
So it's a way to catch that early on. And usually what we do is if we notice a dog is licking their lip, either in play group or, when they're in their room for their overnight, we will notice it, and then we'll start switching into changing as much about their environment as we can in a way to support them and giving them more lick mats, calms, those sorts of things to encourage that licking behavior to help them to continue to calm down.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Nice. Now, would you say, because I notice a lot of dogs will start licking their paws, right,
Mhm.
when they're anxious or,
Yeah,
licking their body, right, to self-soothe. I have two dogs myself, and one will start to lick the other's eyes, right, or,
yeah,
the eye, goopy, whatever, that the tears come down. So I've come to realize, like, oh, that's his, that's definitely his soothing technique. But what's even more fascinating is I never picked up on this until I had two dogs, is that his brother, who's the one having his eyes licked, really leans into it. And I think I figured out he's doing it to help soothe his brother. Would you say that? I'm just
totally.
wondering. You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, dogs do that all the time. So you can't see her, but my oldest dog is 18 and she's right
Oh,
here because she
wow.
always is. And she's one of those dogs who can pick up on any dog's need in the area,
Yeah.
and she will know exactly what it is that that dog needs to feel better.
Oh,
So she loves going to daycare. She has a blast, but we have to cut back on how much she goes now that she's an old lady, because she'll spend her whole time trying to like make sure that every dog is feeling their absolute best. And she, to the point where she will make like run herself ragged.
yeah.
My favorite story about her related to this is at her own doggy daycare way long ago, like 12 years ago at this point, had been playing with a rope toy by herself in the corner and hit the rope toy and it broke her tooth.
Oh,
So I took her to my vet. We had to have her tooth pulled, and my vet at the time was lovely. He offered me an employee discount on this dental surgery if I assisted in the surgery.
oh,
So
wow.
deal, I'm in for it, like whatever it takes. So I was monitoring her anesthesia the whole time she was under.
Oh, wow.
Um, and when she was done, which took a while, I put her back in her recovery crate, and we left the door open because she just was so liquid. She couldn't, like, we couldn't get her back into the crate together. While she was still out cold, another client had come in with their dog that they needed to have euthanized
Mm,
due to old age and cancer and all of that. And they
mm.
had asked if they could drop the dog off while they went and got their son out of school so he could be there to say goodbye. So they put the dog in the crate below Wish in the recovery area. She woke up out of anesthesia like that and jumped out of the second level of crates to go and crawl into the crate
Oh,
below her to keep the other dog company while
wow.
they were waiting. And
Wow.
then while they had gone to pick up their son, another client had come in with a hamster that was having seizures. And they had put that hamster in the recovery room on the opposite side of the room. So my poor dog, who is like drugged to her gills, is staggering across the recovery area from the dog to the hamster and back, trying to make sure that they were both feeling okay. And it's just like, you just had your tooth yanked out of your face. Like, can you please just relax? And it was to the point where I had to actually take her home before she was fully recovered because she wouldn't settle down. She just needed to
Wow.
be with those dogs, with that dog and the hamster.
What a healer she
Yeah,
is.
she's
What
great. And she does the same thing for people too. But
does she? Yeah, she was meant to come to this earth to heal. What a
oh,
angel for sure. That's amazing. Okay, so you told me that you have 5 tips to help people who are bringing in dogs to their own home for dog boarding or daycare. And I'm assuming this could apply to almost any pet care business that they're bringing in dogs. So, what were those 5 tips that could help the anxious dogs that people get as clients so they don't have to turn them away and, say goodbye to that income, and they can make a larger, more deep and impactful, significance on someone's lives and the dogs' lives?
Yeah, so I like to break this down by the 5 senses just to make it a little bit easier for us to remember. So the first one that I wanted to talk about was sight. So dogs, sight isn't their primary sense, but it is pretty up there. And anxious dogs in particular tend to be a little bit more sensitive to what they can see. So one of the things that I recommend anybody who has an anxious dog or is boarding anxious dogs does is to put as much of their lighting on a dimmer as possible. The darker you can keep their environment when they don't need to be actively interacting with somebody or, out, obviously you can't dim the sun if they're out for a walk, but the darker you can keep their environment the rest of the time, the more readily they'll be able to decompress and come back down from any stressful environment, like any stressful event that they've had throughout the day.
Wow. So that applies even to natural daylight.
Yeah.
If you shut the blinds or
Yeah.
the curtains, if you're in home and okay, wow.
Yeah.
I never
But
never
yeah.
knew that.
Yeah. So like off to my left is our dining area, which is where my other dog has his safe space.
Mhm.
And it's full of windows and it's beautiful with all the light on, but we keep the blinds down just to keep it as dark as possible in there. And the other place that we have set up for him is downstairs underneath the stairs.
Huh?
So it's nice and cool and dark area that he, can block out as much of the world as possible to help him just come back down.
Okay, fascinating. Why do you think that? Do you have any theories or any insight as to why that is?
Yeah, so it's basically when a dog has anxiety or, is even just more sensitive than a regular dog, like Wish, my older dog, I would say, doesn't necessarily have anxiety, but she's very sensitive.
Mhm.
Whereas my other dog has full-blown anxiety and I love him to death, but he is a basket case. But any dog that is paying more attention to their environment. The more of their environment that they can see and smell and interact with, that's more information that's coming into their brain and filling up their bucket. So I always refer to dogs' brains as a bucket that, everything that happens to them adds some more water and rocks and all of that to the bucket. And eventually it'll overflow, which is like a panic attack or super stressful um, experience that leads them to like with separation anxiety dogs, like chewing up their paws or breaking their way out of their crate, something like that. So we try to keep the bucket as empty as possible, and we have to try and get them to empty their bucket on their own. So by keeping things dark, we're limiting how much is getting put into the bucket in the first place.
Very good. Wow, that's a really great tip. Okay, I love it. Okay, so tip number 1 was sight.
Yeah.
What's next?
Up next is sound. And this is one that a lot of people are taken aback by. Dogs have very sensitive um, ears. They can hear a whole bunch of stuff that we can't.
Yeah.
And we tend to think that if we find something soothing and relaxing, they're going to find it soothing and relaxing too. So when I ask people what they play for the dogs in their care or the dogs that are in their lives, if they play anything at all, it's usually classical music. That's like the standard go-to. And it's actually one of the worst things you can play for a dog.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
So there
yeah,
are
you hear that all the time. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
So
I'll
the
play like
reasoning
the
behind
frequency music,
yeah,
like, so tell me, yeah, tell me.
yeah. So there are some companies that have remastered classical music to be appropriate for dogs' ears. Through a Dog's Ear or ICOM, they're the same company, is the one that comes to mind. But basically, the problem with classical music is that there's so many dynamics to it. It gets really, really loud, very, very quiet. And there's long pauses sometimes between different movements of pieces. And every time that dynamic changes or there's a break in the music is an opportunity for a dog to hear something that will stress it out. A lot of times this is pretty much any noise that they can't see the source of. So unless, you're not listening to the first thing I said and you're letting dogs see everything, there's going to be a sound that they hear that they can't see where it's coming from. And in order to reduce the impact of that on their anxiety, I recommend, and the science is behind this too, is actually playing brown noise for dogs. It's very similar to white noise. It's just a different set of frequencies. And multiple studies have found that when you play brown noise for dogs, it actually masks any sound from the outside. They don't hear what else is going on in the world. They just hear that one baseline noise. And it also doesn't have those dynamics. It's not, it's just a consistent noise. However, people don't always like to listen to synthetic noise in their workplace. So I do like to give people other alternatives. The next best few are also things that raise a lot of eyebrows. One is reggae music.
I'm going to stop you right there. I want to hear those. But before you go there, before we leave the brown noise, give me an example of where somebody can get brown noise. Is that the place that you mentioned before that? What was it called again? Icon or something?
Icon is where, if you want classical music, that's the place you want to go to.
Okay.
Yes.
Where's brown music? How do you get that?
Yeah, so you can get brown noise pretty much anywhere. I listen to it on Spotify, but there's also plenty of videos on YouTube with brown noise.
I
So
see. Okay.
Whatever your preferred platform of choice, I can almost guarantee there's brown noise there.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I might just be 20 years behind here because I had no idea. Okay, so let me go on and hear the alternatives in case somebody doesn't want to hear the brown noise.
Yeah. So reggae is another really good one for dogs. Again, not a lot of those dynamic changes. It's very consistent. The beat just kind of keeps going. And it's one of those things that's great to play when you have staff or if you're going to be around the dogs too, because who can be like stressed out or sad when listening to reggae? Like, I don't know a single person. So that's another great option too. If you are more into the club scene, then listening to like any electronic music, techno music, is really good too. Again, very little going on in the dynamics because when you've got a bunch of people in a club, you want them amped up and excited the whole time. You don't want these lulls.
Yeah. Okay. I see it. Yeah.
And then one that completely baffles me, but is a godsend for some of my clients, is actually death metal.
Oh, ow.
Yeah. Some people love death metal and dogs don't mind it.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
I've always wondered that when I'm driving in the car with my dogs and a good song comes on, you turn it up real loud, and then I think, oh, am I hurting their ears? Like, but now I know if it's reggae, electronic, or death metal, it's actually helping them to lower their anxiety and self-depress. That's great. I love it. Okay. So is that what, do you have anything else for us on the hearing?
Yeah, the only other thing would be to try and dampen as much sound as possible, using things like keeping windows shut when the weather is appropriate for that. Like this time of year in summertime, sometimes you need those windows open for ventilation, but anything you can do to mask sounds from the outside, whether it's synthetically by, playing the brown noise or by using sound dampening and soundproofing materials, whatever works best for your setup and your lifestyle is honestly one of the best things.
And what about a fan? The good old basic fan?
Good old basic fan is okay. It's not bad. It's not, but it's not as good as these other options we've talked about. We have like our big ventilation fans will turn on in the middle of the day for a variety of reasons. But one of the reasons is that like deep, steady noise that's going on, not quite as like quite the right frequency as as the brown noise. It's more in the white noise frequencies, but it can still do a pretty decent job of masking up some of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So the brown noise, it's really about the frequency versus,
exactly.
it's the consistency and the frequency, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, it's both.
Okay. Very interesting. Okay. Those are great tips. I love it. All right. So what's number 3? We have sight here, and now we're into 3.
So
Sense.
smell. Smell is the next one. And that's, I mentioned, I hinted at it before with one of the reasons we use our big exhaust fans, our ventilation fans. And one of them is to get rid of any smells that are inside of the building and push those to the outside. Dogs, that's their most sensitive scent is scent. Oh my gosh, that is a tongue twister. So we want to make sure that we're keeping that as informational as possible and not doing a lot to mask it, but also while still getting rid of as much as we can so it's not overwhelming.
Okay. Okay. So then what would you say? Here's my question to you. So someone like myself who does in-home boarding, I don't have kennels. The dogs have accidents, of course, sometimes in the house, on the hardwood floors, on the furniture covers. And I use this enzyme, this organic enzyme cleaner that's supposed to, get rid of the scent. Of course, it never really gets rid of 100%, does it? But I launder it in that enzyme cleaner, and then I have a spray for spot cleaning that has the enzyme cleaner in it. But is that good? Is that bad? Do you have any other suggestions that might be better for the dog?
Yeah, so the enzymatic cleaners are great because they don't tend to also have an additional scent mixed in. Sometimes they do, depends on the brand. But the ones we use at our facility and the ones I recommend for people don't have an additional scent mixed in. It's just an unscented enzyme product. The reason for that is that if we can smell an additive in a cleaning product, it is way too strong. Dogs' noses are so much more sensitive than ours. The example I use for that is that if you were to line up all of our scent receptors end to end, you'd maybe get the length of a postage stamp. Whereas if you line up all of the scent receptors for a dog from end to end, it actually goes from their nose to their tail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they can smell way more than we can, which is why you have to use an enzyme cleaner in the first place, because they can smell that another dog has peed there.
Yeah.
So they'll go back and they'll pee on it because that's where we pee. Clearly,
Right.
somebody did it.
Right. Right.
So you have to use
Done.
yeah. So you have to use an enzyme cleaner to break it down on a molecular level so it doesn't smell like pee anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, good, good. I'm glad I'm using something that's good. So yeah, that's crazy. I never thought about that. What about in the yard? Do you have any if you don't have a turf, you just have earth, right? What about the yard? Is there anything that you would recommend doing out there, or do you just let good old Mother Nature rinse that off from time to time?
It really depends on the setup and the situation. If you have any areas that have rock or concrete or anything like that, they do make enzymatic cleaners that you can attach to your hose and spray those down, which is
Wow.
great because they're biodegradable. They're not going to impact the environment at all.
Right.
But spraying it on your just straight up dirt and your grass is a waste of product. It's it's just going to get sucked right down deep. So it's really best to use on paved areas, concrete,
Okay.
stones, anything like that.
Wood decks, probably
Yep.
wooden decks.
Yep, wood decks, anything, any like solid surface.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Even like the dog beds you might have out there, or like the we have tunnels and all that. So I never
Yep.
thought about spraying that. I always spray down the deck with the enzyme cleaner and spray it off, but I never thought about doing that with all of the agility,
Yep.
stuff that we have out there. So I think I'll add that to the list of to-dos. Thank you.
I don't mean to make your to-do list longer, but
Well, and now do you know if it's true? I heard or read somewhere that they can smell up to 2 weeks past. Is that true? Do you know?
I don't know if that's I don't know if that's the exact timeline. I can't remember what it is that I've read, but that they can smell quite a ways back, especially if it hasn't been properly cleaned. Because
Yeah.
there's even scent. So this is kind of getting into the gruesome territory, but cadaver sniffing dogs, body sniffing dogs, are trained on cadaverine, and they can actually find cadaverine in Revolutionary era battlefields. So
Whoa.
yeah.
Wow. Gosh, they're amazing,
So
aren't they? They're so
right,
amazing.
yeah.
Wow.
So there's like all these, as a true crime junkie, I always hear about like the dog's alerted in this house, and it's just like, yeah, somebody probably cut their foot 20 years ago, and that's what they're smelling. So their noses are so sensitive, but
Okay.
those dogs are actually trained to be a lot more perceptive. So
Sure.
I don't think the average dog can smell 200 years back. 2 weeks makes a lot more sense.
Right, right. Okay, very good. All right. Is that all for the smell?
I mean, I can give you a million more things with smells, but
Well, what else you got? What else you got?
yeah.
What's going to help dogs who are coming in anxious into your business and with the pack that can help calm them down, smell related?
Yeah. So let's see. What we've talked about all costs money so far with smells. So let's do something that's free.
Okay.
Uh, so one of the very first things that I do with any of my anxious dog training clients is I encourage them to get as much sniffing time into their dog's schedule as possible.
Mm,
So if you can encourage that in the dogs in your care, whether that's by taking them on sniffing walks on a longer lead, letting them, check out everything and move at their own pace, sniff as much as they want, or doing scatter feedings where you take their breakfast or dinner and you just drop it on the floor, or even better in the grass, so that they have to sniff around and find all the food. Those are all really great ways to get their nose going. And when their dog's nose gets going, you can sometimes hear like a really deep sucking sound when they're sniffing.
yeah.
And when you hear that, it's actually changing the flow of the air in their nose. Instead of just going straight through like air normally would, it's being detoured to a secondary scent organ. And when that organ is activated, it activates a different part of the brain.
Mm,
And one of the things that the brain will do when that secondary scent organ has been activated is it will cascade the brain in a bunch of feel good chemicals, because it wants to get as much background noise out of the brain as possible so we can focus on this new smell and identifying what it is. So
wow.
it actually encourages different like growth in the brain. Makes them relax. It's just one of the greatest free things you can do for a dog that's being stressed out, is get them to use their nose as much as possible.
Nice. Almost like the way you're describing that, I'm thinking like you're basically putting them into a meditation state, a meditative state, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's
It's
one.
actually one of the things that veterinary behaviorists have been recommending for decades. Going back, I know of an article from, I think, 1994, 1997, where Dr. Karen Overall recommends teaching your dog how to take a deep breath on cue for that same reason. Yep.
Is that how she does it or no?
So she actually does it by taking a treat
Uh-huh.
and gently lowering it down towards the dog's nose. And then when you see their nostrils flare to take in a deep breath, she marks that by saying yes or using a clicker, and then giving the treat. So you're encouraging that deep breath that they take.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. We could add that to our repertoire, I do believe now. Thank you. Because we'll
Yeah.
do little, 5-10 minute sessions of basic command training.
Yeah,
Uh, and we can add that to that session, basically.
for
Uh,
sure. It
eh,
pairs really well with watch me or look.
Okay. Okay. Or even leave it maybe if you're letting them see. Yeah. Okay. And I'm happy to hear all this because we do sniff and seeks.
Yeah.
Right. So I make sure all the dogs are not going to be, treat possessive, and they all are so good. And we train them when they come in here to make sure that they can w sniff treats out along with their, pack members and make sure they don't fight and everything. And it has been one of the best additions to our business, to our routine every day, because
Okay.
every single time after I'm done doing that, they're ready for a break.
Oh yeah. It's so like a 15-minute sniffing session is as exhausting as playing fetch for like close to an hour.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
good to hear. All right. Okay, I'm all ears. You got anything else on sniff, or you want to move
The
next?
only other thing that I recommend a lot is using pheromone diffusers. Um,
Okay.
so the one that most people know about is a dactyl. It used to be called Comfort Zone. And basically what this particular pheromone diffusers, and there's plenty of other companies that have made them since. The one that we use at our facility is called Be Serene. And basically, the pheromone that's in these diffusers or sprays or whatever it is, whatever product you end up choosing, is uh, the same pheromone that mother dogs will emit to their puppies to help keep the puppies calm. So it's called dog appeasing pheromone, DAP. And basically, it triggers that calming response in the brain without you having to do any work. You just plug it in like a Glade plug-in, or they make sprays to spray down bedding if there's one dog in particular who needs it more than the others. And even Be Serene, the company that we use, has both of those options, but they also make a topical that you can put on a dog, like flea or tick
Oh,
treatments that can help keep them calm for up to a week. But
wow.
there's like collars, there's sprays, there's in so many different formats, and it's really great. I recommend finding one that works best for you. They're all a little bit different. Some have more pheromone in them than others. Some mix them with other things. So some mix them with essential oils like lavender or chamomile. Some are just straight up pheromone. It's all a little bit different. And so different dogs will respond differently to the different products. But
Mm,
in general, having a diffuser going is never a bad idea. It's not going to hurt any dogs. And it's
nice.
one of those things that we have one plugged in at both ends of our dog room.
Mm.
So, whenever we get the fans going, it blows it around to all the different rooms. But we will always put the most stressed out dogs at the two different ends so that they're closest to the diffuser.
Oh, very, very insightful. Yeah, that's smart. So that I could see that really applying to a dog that I have right now, as a matter of fact, who sleeps in a crate at home. So we keep that up here and we have him sleep in a crate in my bedroom because he does it in the bedroom at home.
Yep.
But every night even though he goes into the crate willingly, and still every night he has to whine for 5 to 10 minutes before he settles down, right?
Yeah,
And so I could see where that would really come into play for him to help get him down into relax mode a lot quicker. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
nice. Great tips. I love it. Okay, so that was scent.
Yeah.
So what's next on the senses here?
Let's do taste next.
Okay.
So one of the things that I encourage people to do as much as possible is to ditch the bowl as much as possible. Bowls make our lives a lot easier because you can just put the food in, you put it down, and bam, you're taken care of. But it's boring for the dog, and we can use the combination of their food as a sustenance for them with using things like getting their nose going, giving them puzzle toys to get their brains going, all of that to help calm them down in general. Because if we can get them mentally tired, when you're really mentally tired, you don't have the capacity to worry and stress as much as you do when you're wide awake and wired. So by using things like puzzle toys, frozen Kongs, lick mats, the scatter feedings we talked about with the in the scent portion, or snuffle mats, you can actually get dogs to calm down a lot faster by pairing something they love, which is their dinner, with an activity that's structured to get their brain to work a little bit harder in a good way and stop focusing so much on them being stressed out.
Yeah. How about, okay, this might be a little off topic. It might go off into a little tangent, forgive me.
That's
But
fine.
what I find a lot with dogs that board here, they get so nervous that they won't eat for a few days, right? And normally I just don't I don't push it. I don't try to put a topper on. I don't want their stomach getting upset because they're anxious anyway. So I don't push it. But is there anything I can do, something like that? Maybe if they come with something that's easy to, I separate them. So I separate them during feedings, and then maybe whatever section they're in, I could, strategically place their kibble, if they have kibble, in different places in the room or something like that. Would that help to calm them so they can eat?
Yeah. The other thing that you can do if with a dog that's stressed out and not wanting to eat is to, I know you said you didn't want to put toppers on and anything like that. And we don't generally either, unless there's a medical need. Like a dog with diabetes needs to eat their food.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't matter how stressed they are,
Yeah.
diabetic dogs need their food.
Right.
So in those cases, we'll use toppers or that sort of things to entice them. But the other things that we have done in the past that have really helped make a difference is if they have wet food, microwaving it gets that scent going as well, makes it smell really different, which will make them more interested. But the other thing that we'll do a lot is adding canned pumpkin,
Uh,
because it tastes different, it's new, it's interesting, but it's also really good for their gut. Because one of the things that we see a lot with anxious dogs is that they tend to be more prone to gastrointestinal issues. And regardless of whether they are running too hot or too cold in their digestive system, pumpkin helps. So it's really great for getting them moving, and it's really great for getting them to stop going so much. So it's one of those miracle wonder foods that again doesn't have doesn't make much of an impact on their nutritional balance or their calorie intake, but can definitely encourage them to eat more in a way that's going to also help their gut heal throughout the whole stressed out process.
I love that. Okay. Very good. Okay. So thank you for going with on the little tangent with me. What else do you have for taste? So it was ditch. I like that. Ditch the bowl. All right.
Vegetable. Yep. Obviously, keeping them on the food that's provided by their owner is one of the big things too. We don't want to cause like upset by introducing new foods or anything like that. Keeping them on owner provided food really will help keep them going steady by providing that routine. This is familiar. I know what this is. It helps their tummy as well. But also, it's one of those things that by having a familiar scent in an unfamiliar location can encourage them to explore that unfamiliar location to get to the familiar scent. So, like you said, spreading the food around in the room that they're in allows them to check it out a little bit more. We do the same sort of thing. Our dogs aren't in like house rooms, they're in their own little run. So sometimes if a dog is really stressed out, we'll just, dump their food on the floor, go to town, sniff around. Some of it ends up in like the cleaning gutter in the back, and that's awesome because then they get to smell all the other dogs that are around them because they're getting into this communal space. So all that works too.
Okay. I love that. Very good. Okay. All right. Tell me more. Anything else on taste, or do you want to move on to the last scent?
I have one more for taste.
Okay.
And this is one that we do at our facility every night. We have a bedtime snack.
Mm.
And the bedtime snacks that we have are made from banana and lavender and chamomile. So we get them to eat their lovely little biscuits, which have the lavender and the chamomile with them, and it helps get them to calm down a little bit right before bedtime so they're going to sleep better, which is going to put them in a better mood for the next day.
Nice. Okay. Where do you make these yourself or do you buy them somewhere?
I buy them because I don't have time to bake.
Right.
So the ones I get are from Bocce,
Okay.
and I think they're called bedtime tea or lavender tea. Um,
Uh,
they're great little treats. Sweet dreams is what they call them. Sweet
Sweet
dreams.
dreams.
Yep.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
All right. Okay, I like that. Okay. And then our last sense, what would that be? Touch?
Touch. Yep.
Okay.
So the big one that a lot of people struggle with is that when a dog is stressed out, our instinct is to comfort them, to
Yes.
pet them, tell them everything's good and okay. And there are some dogs that's great. Like, Wish, my older dog, you cannot pet this dog enough. Like, you could spend 24 hours a day looking into her eyes and telling her she's the greatest dog on the planet, and she would still not be satisfied. Uh, but then there are other dogs, and dogs who tend to be more on the anxious end tend to be very selective about where they like to be touched, who they like to be touched by, how they like to be touched. So unless you know for sure what a dog's like preference is, it's best to just not touch them at all. And often not even to look at them when they're stressed out and just kind of coexist with them. And really what you want to do in those situations is just set an example. I will oftentimes, if we have a super stressed out dog, I let them out into the play yard so they have plenty of space. They don't feel claustrophobic or pressed in with me. And I will sit out there and I will meditate.
Mm.
I'll just sit out there and do my own little thing. And I'm just providing a good example for this dog that it's okay to be, calm in this environment. It's a safe space.
Yeah.
And they will actually pick up on the change in our brain waves when we meditate, and it'll encourage them to do it themselves, that it's a safe space. This
Yeah.
tends to backfire with your own dogs.
Oh,
Just saying.
really?
Yeah. A dog that's really clued into your emotional existence and cares about who you are and your life as a person get really stressed out when we meditate sometimes because we've gone into an alternative state of being as far as our brain waves are concerned that make us less aware of the external world and focus more on the internal world. And so a dog who is really worried about you and your life is going to be concerned that you're not safe.
Like,
So
like,
whenever I meditate at home, Wish is like right here next to me on alert, looking around like I got to keep mom safe.
oh, wow. Okay. Because you're not
But
allowed to what
yeah,
your surroundings are.
yep,
Okay. Okay.
yep.
My two dogs have been with me for they're a little over 2, and I got them as puppies. So they have seen me meditate almost every day, every morning. So they just, I'm glad I've done that with them from day one because they are so good now. As soon as I go into a meditative state, they just settle right down, whether it's on my lap or next to me, and they just lay right down. And they've actually been very helpful with kind of guiding the other dogs that are here as to what to do in this situation, and
Definitely.
to help
Yep.
calm them all down. So that's a really, really interesting point. And I love that too because you touched upon this. It's any dog that's anxious when they can feel that you're calm, you're being a leader to that dog. You're showing that dog that, like you said, it's okay to be calm in this environment. And I mean, that's incorporated in so much, right? When we're introducing dogs, if we're not calm, then chances are we might end up having some chaos happening, right?
Oh
So,
yeah.
so I love that how you go into That's so helpful for sure. And the touch, oh my gosh, I have a story about that. So I have a dog that has been coming here for daycare only every other week. And he's been coming for, oh my goodness, probably about a year, probably about a year. And it took, I would say, about 8 months, maybe maybe seven in the very least, but eight, even maybe more, before he wanted me to touch him.
Yep.
So I just let him be. Like you said, I just let him exist in the same environment as I exist in. And now when he comes over, he's part husky. So he's
Mhm.
a pomsky. And so now when he comes over, he gets so excited and he rubs up against me back and forth just like a cat.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
I can love all over him like crazy. And
Oh,
and, and he talks, right? Because he has that husky in him. So he gets so excited and he starts talking, and then I start talking back, and we just have a little thing now.
yeah. We had the same thing. We had a dog that came to us for boarding, 4 years ago at this point. And the first time she came, her owners were really worried. They had come for a tour first, and they were still worried because she has a history of being stressed out and being, borderline aggressive,
Mhm.
not because she's aggressive, but because she wants to keep herself safe. Like,
Yeah.
you stay the hell away from me.
Yeah.
So when they brought her in, she was muzzled. They wanted to take her to her room so they could be the one to take off her muzzle. They didn't want us letting her out of the room because our rooms are set up so that they have access to an inside and an outside. So a dog doesn't have to leave their room to
Yeah.
be a fully,
Outdoors or what?
exactly, to live a good life. But, so the first time they boarded, it was just for 1 or 2 nights, just to give her the feel of it and see how it went. And the first time they came, I, asked when they came to pick her up, I'm like, can we just have her out in the yard, you guys and me? And I just want to have a conversation, just the two of us, and I'm going to completely ignore her and let her, check me out. That was more for them to feel comfortable that they were able to intervene if anything happened. I'm like, we don't need to put her muzzle on. We don't need to do any of that. I just want to be out in the same space as her, and I'm just going to completely ignore her. She doesn't exist. And she's warmed up to me pretty quick by doing that. I still didn't pet her, I didn't touch her or anything like that. The next time she came, they gave us permission to let me take her out of the room. Nobody else. They were still worried about it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So I
Yeah.
had her out in the yard with me, and I just would, sat out there and I meditated or I'd read a book or something like that. I just keep her company
Yeah.
outside. And by the end of her second stay with us, I had sent them a picture of her in my lap giving me kisses, and they were absolutely like
Floored.
confused. Like, there's no way this is our dog.
Is
And
that
then
it?
every time she's come since, she's expanded her circle one more step. So she's had one more person, or she's done one new thing, or something like that. And now she's at the point where they didn't even bring her muzzle the last time she boarded. They didn't even put it in the car because she
Oh,
came right in all wiggly and excited, like, this is my place. This is where they know me. This is my jam. And it was all just by
language.
letting her lead the way of
Yes.
how much interaction she wanted, and how, letting her be the one to ask for attention as opposed to me offering it. And waiting for consent, she was the one taking charge. And it made her feel so much more comfortable. You could like see the switch in her head when she realized that, oh, this girl's not going to pet me. That's
Right?
This is great.
You know, okay, now I have another story to tell about that because I think this is so important for people who especially do in-home boarding and daycare or kenneling and or even dog walking. It's even going into the client's home just with one-on-one dogs too. I mean, all of this is so important because I know for me, when I am hiring a dog walker, I have dog walkers come and walk my dogs Every morning we have for our daycare and boarding dogs, they'll come and get them all walked for me or help me get them all walked. Sometimes I walk them too. And I can always tell when I'm hiring a dog walker or somebody who sometimes I have one person here a week and I have the same girl for a while now, but every now and then I have to find a substitute. And when I'm basically having them come here for a trial day, and that's kind of part of their interview, right?
Yep.
And or a trial walk. And the ones who listen to me the best by means of me saying basically what I don't follow everything the dog whisperer talks about, but what he says on the no touch, no talk, no eye contact, I follow that to a T because it's been the most successful part of helping these dogs get acclimated and comfortable with you and to earn their trust. And so the people who are here on trial days, and I tell them, don't look at this dog. Don't touch, don't talk. Even if they come up to you and sniff you and stand up on top of you, you think that they want to be pet. That doesn't mean they want to be pet. They're checking you out, right? And you have to let them check you out. But always, I can always tell how long or how well somebody is going to do by how good they are at following those instructions, the no touch, no talk, because they always win the dogs over quicker if they
Yep.
follow the instructions to a T, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. We used to have a sign on our door. We don't anymore because we don't have time to have people over. But when we had, you know, people coming over to our house or anything, a sign goes up on our door that says, you can pay attention to the black fluffy dog, ignore the other dog. And no
Yeah.
matter what happens, do not look at this dog, do not talk to this dog, do not touch this dog. He does not exist. And it's because Boomer is really, really picky about the people in his life. We jokingly, he's on our website as the HR manager because he's the pickiest dog when it comes to people, but he's spot on with his instincts.
Yeah.
Like he knows good people, he knows bad people, he knows he's great. But we just have a universal rule that nobody touches Boomer. And he will make it very clear when somebody is allowed to finally touch him. And he will slam his butt into their legs. And then you're allowed to touch the butt. And that is whenever somebody has tried to touch him before he has done that, he has lost it. He's either, snarled at them or snapped at them or,
Does he
just
bark at them?
he doesn't bark. He
Okay.
doesn't ever really bark about anything.
Okay.
He's a weird dog, but he makes it very clear that no, thank you, do not touch.
Yeah.
But when people do wait for him to slam his butt into them, they're like his new best friend. And it's been he is at my facility for most of the interviews that I do just to see if they'll listen because he
Yeah.
wears a muzzle. So it's a little bit more obvious if
Oh,
he, that I mean it when I say don't touch this dog. He's wearing a
right.
muzzle.
Yeah.
But there are people who will still be like, oh, but he's so cute. And it's like, yeah, no,
Or dogs love me.
dogs love me. Yep. And it's like, yeah, he
Yeah.
doesn't. And though granted, he's barely a dog. He's more of a cat trapped in a dog body. So
Right. Yes, right. Yeah, I love that. Well, those are all super good tips for sure because especially I mean this topic because so many people get into pet sitting because they're like, oh, I love dogs and dogs love me. And you imagine all this like cuddle time and kisses and belly rubs and, lap cuddles. And it's like, it can be disheartening at first because you realize not every dog's going to warm up to you right away if you do that. Right. So you
yeah,
have to go.
I mean, there are some dogs who do, like the labs and golden retrievers of this world who have never met a stranger. My oldest dog is in that category. There are dogs that are like that, but they are the exception, not the rule. And I think people assume that they're more common than they are because they're the ones who are out and about. They're the ones
Yeah.
who are at at the pub or, that are hanging out at the dog park and
Yep.
all that. It's
Totally.
never the more selective dogs that are out and about enjoying all those things because they're not enjoyable for them. It's
Right.
stressful.
Exactly. Yeah. We have a lot of barkers who, and it's the main trigger for them is just looking them in the eyes.
Yep.
And that would be my two dogs and a Dachshund that we have here. I can never say the name of that properly, but in fact, I had a newer team member that was filling in for a different day than she normally does. And the little Dachshund was here. And I said to her, you cannot look her. And she struggles sometimes because she's like, but
Yeah.
they're so cute. She gives that.
Yeah.
And she just loves them so much. And so I said, you could definitely not look this dog in the eyes because if
Yeah.
you do the entire day, she will be barking at you.
Yeah.
And if you make the mistake once, you cannot turn it back around. It's going to take a long time to turn that back around. And
Oh,
and thank God she listened and she did the best job she's ever done with a dog. And she did not look her in the eyes. And 2 hours later, that dog was on her lap, in her face, giving her kisses and getting lovins.
oh yeah. Well, that all boils down to knowing how dogs think and how they interact with each other in the world. Because in eye contact with dogs, if two dogs are making eye contact, it's always like a come on, bring it. I can
Yeah.
take you.
Yeah.
So by us making eye contact with dogs, it's an intimidation factor for them.
And
They
we're bigger. So we're like,
Yeah.
"Arr."
So it's very rare that a dog is open and willing to make eye contact. And usually the dogs that are border collies.
Yeah.
Because that's how they herd is with their eye. They are not intimidated by anything when it comes to their eye.
Right.
Um, but it's really quite common. And it's one of the things that when I was first training and I was doing like traditional obedience classes and all of that, and we would do, watch me, bring a treat up between our eyes. And the dogs would always do it for me, no problem, because I'm probably the least intimidating thing on the planet. But when their own owners did it, they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to make eye contact. They'd look up at the treat and then look away and then
Wow.
look
With
back.
with their
And
own.
that's because they didn't want to insult their owners.
Yeah.
They didn't want them to think that they were challenging them too hard because mom and dad are the source of food, toys, my home,
Oh,
everything I love. I
yeah.
don't want to piss them off.
I have a good thing going on here. I don't want to
Right?
ruin it. Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm just the lady they see once a week
Yeah.
for lots of treats. So if I disappear tomorrow, they aren't gonna notice. But if mom or dad disappears, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who they would always get discouraged when we were doing that. And it's like, don't be discouraged. This is a good thing. And
Yeah.
then there would always be one person in the class with the dog that was just like making eye contact as like hard as possible. And they're like, oh, does this my dog not respect me? It's like, no, they just really want that treat. It's not a respect thing. It's just that treat is way more interesting than anything else in this world. And they want it. So it's like
Over the respect issue.
yeah, it's like my oldest dog could make eye contact with anybody for hours if it meant she would get a cookie at the end of it.
Yeah.
Like
Wow, how cool. Well, this is all fantastic information that is very applicable to bringing in anxious dogs or even just recognizing when a dog is anxious, even if they're not generally anxious. So, thank you so much. Is there anything else I missed or that I didn't get a chance to hear from you yet? Would you like to share anything else, or did we hear it all, you think?
I mean, I could talk for hours, but I think this is a good place to start.
Okay, okay, good. Now, I think you had something for our listeners if they wanted to go to your website and get a download, some sort of checklist, right? You want to tell me about
Yeah. Yep. So it's called the first 7 days, your rescue dog's decompression checklist. It's originally designed for when my clients were bringing home new dogs, helping their dogs adjust to their new homes. But it's also really great for home boarders because you're bringing in a dog into your home that for the first time. And it's basically a set of do's and don'ts of like what you should absolutely avoid and what will make things easier for them to adjust into their home, into their temporary home while you're boarding. So it's a great little checklist to go through to make sure that everything's set up in a way that will make things easier when next time you bring an anxious dog in for boarding.
Excellent. Okay. And I think you had said that that was at www.magicofpaws.com/7, the number days,
Yep,
correct?
that's
Okay.
it.
And we'll put a link to that in the description in the video as well. So thank you for that. Do you have any final tips, words, or, words of wisdom from all your years of experience for other people that are doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is never stop learning.
Yeah.
I swear I learn something new about dogs all the time. And you would think after been training dogs professionally for 12 years now that I should have learned everything by now. And it's totally not. I'm so excited every time I learn a new thing or I get to try a new technique or about a new product. It's the greatest thing ever. And you will never regret any time you spend on learning something new to help with your business.
Yeah, I love that. And I would even twist that more to say that any dog that gives you a lot of challenges, that all of the normal things you try isn't working anymore, see that as a blessing because it is teaching you more. It is making you better. And
Definitely.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Boomer. So my younger dog has brain damage and anxiety and a canine compulsive disorder and so many things wrong with him. And it was to the point where when I adopted him, I had been a professional trainer for 7 years. It wasn't like I was a newbie. It wasn't like I didn't know what I was doing, but nothing was working with him because traditional behavior modification is a lot of like teaching a dog to go to their spot or to sit when this happens and all of that. And he can't do that. His brain and his body don't talk to each other all that well. So I had to learn a whole different way of working with dogs. And he completely changed everything I do as a dog trainer to the point where like I barely use any of the old stuff I did for the first 7 years of my business
Hmm.
because by doing the stuff that I learned to do with Boomer, with all of my new clients and everything, I can often get results so much faster than I ever did before because I'm looking at more of a foundations first approach. I'm looking at what it is that I need to do to make him feel comfortable, make him feel safe and understood, and lean into natural tendencies as opposed to working against them. And it's made a huge difference. And I'm grateful every day that I caved into the post I saw of him on Facebook, even though he has been a pain in my butt and I haven't taken a vacation since we got him because he's so picky. But I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't trade a day
Yeah.
of any experience that I've had with him, including the days that he's bitten me. Like it's been good. It's all good. It's all for a reason. And I love him to death.
Yes. So he made your life better, you better. And what an angel he's been to the rest of the pack then, because and all the dogs you serve now ever since learning
Exactly.
stuff from him. So
Yep.
now you can, yeah. Ooh, he had a big purpose in this life. That's why.
He did. He did. He's a good boy.
Yeah, good. Well, Nissa, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom of all these years working with dogs. And hopefully, we'll have you back sometime soon. So, thanks so much, and you have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. Hey, pet lovers, thanks for watching. I hope you liked it and you got something out of that can help your business grow. If so, please like and share this video. And also, if you're interested in learning how to manage more of your own emotions and intuition and how it affects the animals in your care, then you're going to want to check out this video next. If you just want to listen to something because you have to start working again, then you might want to check out episode 11, where I talk about the 14 reasons you want to offer a doggy daycare.